Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga, bringing you up to speed with the biggest political happenings in Nigeria at midday. Let's begin with the headlines. Rivers State House of Assembly serves notice of allegations of gross misconduct on Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy. And Amnesty International asked the federal government to allow critics of government to have their say following a viral video of a core member who raises concern over her safety after she received calls allegedly from NYSC over her comments on the state of the economy. Thanks again for joining us on the program. Let's begin with what is considered a political firestorm that has now erupted in Rivers State. The House of Assembly has formally accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu of gross misconduct. In a formal communication to the Speaker, Martin Ameule, the Rivers State House of Assembly has initiated proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu. The lawmakers have said that their letter containing allegations of gross misconduct is issued in strict adherence to Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended and other extant laws. And of course, a lot is going on. That's why we're bringing in our correspondent in Rivers State, Charles Oporum, just to bring us up to speed as to this latest development in the Rivers State House of Assembly. Charles, you were in the chambers and the hallowed chambers of the Rivers State House of Assembly when all of this played out. Maybe you replay to us exactly how did the House member come to this conclusion, because we saw what they reeled out as these allegations, as well as some of all the signatures that have been signed on to enforce this letter that was written to the Speaker. And now the Speaker has actually written to the House, to the Governor. Charles?
Okay. Good afternoon, Jeff. Yes, the plenary ended maybe, say, 30, 45 minutes ago. And that letter, which was scrolling on the screen a moment ago, was made public. So, yes, what happened was this. Members of the House of Assembly, operating by the law, wrote to the Speaker, intimating the Speaker about allegations of gross misconduct leveled against the governor of the state, Siminalayi Fubara, and his deputy governor, Professor Ngozi Odu. And the Speaker, by law, has 7 days within which to act on this particular letter that has been written to him by members of the Assembly. Now, the law says that if 1/3 of the members of the Assembly, if it's up to 1/3 of the Assembly that's sending this letter to the Speaker, then the Speaker is bound to act on it within 7 days of receiving the letter. Now, the Speaker said that he received the letter from his members. 26 of them signed it on Friday last week, and that the 7 days started counting immediately. So Saturday, Sunday, and today is Monday. So they've transmitted the letter to the governor and the one to the deputy governor. There are two separate letters accusing both of them of gross misconduct. But it doesn't even end there, Jeff. 3 items were discussed at plenary today. So the issue of transmitting a letter of gross misconduct, of allegations of gross misconduct to the governor and the deputy governor, is just one. There is a second one. They've formally invited the EFCC to investigate the secretary to the state government, Tammy Danagogo, for extra budgetary spending, and for allegations of financial crimes and recklessness while serving as secretary to the state government. So that one has, it looks like it's even flying under the radar because of how major or massive the issue of gross misconduct against the governor is. So, but this one is still, the letter to the EFCC to investigate the SSG has not yet been made public. Jeff.
So tell us, now that this move has been made, if you look at Section 188 of the Constitution, this is clearly a prelude to what can end up as an impeachment or removal from office in the words of the Constitution. What is the mood of the city? How are the people receiving it on all sides of the divide this time, as well as the most important people, those who don't have direct stake, but who are the main stakeholders, the people of Rivers State?
It just happened, So I don't think it has sunken in yet. It just happened, like I said, it's less than an hour since plenary ended. So the mood, I cannot gauge the mood yet, but people are going about their normal business, their normal activity. But I do know that there are certain activities that are happening right now. For instance, the case about the lawmakers' defection is coming up. It's coming up in court today. At the Federal High Court. I understand that another case has been filed to strike it out because on the ground that the Supreme Court has talked about it, and that's one. Secondly, the Nigerian Bar Association, the chairman of the Port Harcourt branch of the Nigerian Bar Association is going to be briefing the press by 3 o'clock with regards to last week's invitation to the DSS to investigate the chief judge. So it's going to be a very long day and a very interesting day. And then, of course, we'll go on the streets and find out what the people think about this particular action of the Assembly. Jeff.
All right, Charles, we're going to keep tab with you. Lots of work for you. This is another set of political storm that has just been invoked into the system. So there's a lot. There's a long stretch, but we must thank you for reporting. And any development as the show progresses, please let us know. We'll bring the people up to speed. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Jeff, and have a great day.
You too. So let's also tell you that a Federal High Court in Port Harcourt is set to hear lots of Rivers State stories, by the way. A motion seeking to strike out the defection suit filed by the Labour Party against Martin Amewole and 26 other members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. At the last hearing on March 11, 2025, the counsel for the Rivers State House of Assembly, Mr. Njamanze SAN, informed the court that he filed a letter or a motion on March the 10th urging the court to strike out the case. He urged and argued that the Supreme Court ruling on February 28, 2025 had already resolved all issues raised in the suit, citing Section 287, subsection 1 of the Constitution. He maintained that the Federal High Court was bound to comply with the Supreme Court's decision. However, Clifford Chukwu, counsel for the Labour Party, opposed the motion, stating that he had filed a reply on the points of law, arguing that the Supreme Court ruling did not directly address the issues or central issues in the suit, which challenges the legality of the lawmakers defecting from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. The matter has then been adjourned to today, March the 17th. We're supposed to hear that motion by 2 p.m. But before all of the defection notice, before the notice of allegations leveled against the governor and his deputy, the Rivers State House of Assembly had accused the governor of deliberately stalling the implementation of the Supreme Court judgment. Specifically, the Assembly alleges that the governor is obstructing the process of presenting the 2025 appropriation bill, a critical step mandated by the court's ruling. These accusations were voiced by Honorable Enemi George, chairman of the House Committee on Information, who is also the Assembly's spokesperson. Let's take a listen to him.
As I speak, the social media space is awash with stories about a purported letter from the governor to the House of Assembly expressing his intention to visit the House to present the appropriation bill for the year 2025. Nothing can be further from the truth. We wish to state categorically that there is no such letter before the House of Assembly nor any of its staff. We challenge the governor and his aides to produce an acknowledgement copy of such the letter or any evidence that such a letter was sent or received by the House of Assembly. It is absolutely untrue and unfortunate. The general public must, as a matter of importance, ignore such a claim. It is now very obvious that if at all there was such a letter, the intended recipient was not the legislature, not the House of Assembly, but the public. And the clear intention was to play to the gallery, whip up public sentiments, demonize the House of Assembly, and set the public against us. This is demeaning, denigrating, and perilously unfortunate. The governor's actions demonstrate a lack of sincerity in resolving this impasse. The governor continues to try to bully and blackmail the legislature into submission. The governor must be reminded that the House of Assembly is not an appendage of the executive, and its members are not its slaves, bond servants, or serfs. We are an independent arm of government in line with the principles of horizontal separation of powers as expressed in the Constitution, Section 4, Section 5, and Section 6.
When it comes to crisis in Rivers State politics, it feels like you can't blink. I really cannot trace all the literal levels of political litigations that have ensued from Rivers State. I doubt even whether the litigants themselves can trace it. As a matter of fact, the decisions that went to the Supreme Court had a couple of cross appeals. In fact, the appeal together should be about maybe 10 to 12, cross appeals and the main appeal. So there are more days of eruptions, perhaps the days ahead. But let's bring in a legal practitioner to help us make sense of the legalese of what is playing out in Rivers State. Henry Ekine is a legal practitioner. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Ekine, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to join you this hour.
So tell us, what exactly is, because if you look at Section 188, this is the first step to impeaching the governor. I'm going to be rolling some of, maybe let me do it now just before I ask you my first question. Some of the premise of the gross misconduct. There are 5 grounds. They talked about reckless and unconstitutional expenditure of public funds, and they cited the Constitution. The second one has to do with hindering and obstructing, if my producer can give me those slides, obstructing the Rivers State House of Assembly, which is another arm of government. So that's the first one, which I just stated, the grounds for the misconduct. The second one has to do with obstructing Rivers State House of Assembly, which is another arm of government, and they cited all of the Constitution. And then the next one that is coming has to do with appointment of persons to occupy offices and positions in the Rivers State House of Assembly without following the due process of screening and confirmation. And then the seizure of salaries is the fourth one, and allowances of the members of the Assembly. And then the fifth ground for this gross misconduct, in their view, is the seizure of the salary of the clerk of the Assembly. So those are the 5 grounds on which they have alleged that the governor and his deputy here primarily because, in their view, it's a connivance between both of them to act unconstitutionally. So I would like your immediate response to what has just played out in the State House of Assembly. Mr. Ekine.
For me, I'm not surprised because we have had these threats by the members of the University House of Assembly. I mean, and I say here clearly on national TV, on channels, so rescued by the Supreme Court. Otherwise, they have before them issues about their legitimacy. Even currently, I heard a reporter drawing the attention of our viewers to the fact that even as we speak, there is a hearing at the Federal High Court, which is vested exclusively with the jurisdiction at the trial stage to entertain such issues about vacancy and defection, and then, of course, the membership of the Rivers State House of Assembly of those 27 members. So, but they've been rescued by some decision of the Supreme Court. So, since after that, we have heard some of them who had come to threaten that they were going to allege the commission of misconduct against the governor, and at this time, including the deputy governor. So I'm not surprised that today, just about an hour, according to your reporter, because I was in court and I just came out and I heard this. Clearly, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has laid down the procedure for removing a governor under our Constitution. That is what generally will be referred to as impeachment, but the appropriate reference is the removal of the governor. And then it will begin with a notice of allegation of commission of gross misconduct against the governor. So let us suffice that what is reported that the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Martin Ameule, has done at the moment is to merely allege, because it's an allegation. It remains an allegation like every other allegation of commission of an offense or a crime, and then it's to be proven. And then that process of proving is a quasi-judicial process that the Constitution has laid out. And even the person who has alleged, that is these members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, have the onus to prove all these allegations. For me, in observing the procedure, yes, indeed, it is the commencement of the process of attempting to remove a governor. But whether they are justified or not, or whether they are to be founded, I do not think that I will speak in that regard at the moment.
Okay, I know you don't want to speak to the justification or otherwise, or what is playing out, but I am looking at expenditure, reckless and unconstitutional expenditure of public funds, contrary to the Constitution, hindering them to sit, screening or running the government, the cabinet without, without the cabinet members being screened and confirmed by the Assembly and all of that. So how does the law look at this? Both of them disagreed as to the status of the members of the House of Assembly. What has gotten to the Supreme Court is the case that was litigated before their defection. Now, they've exhausted all procedure in terms of the legalese or the legal procedure, which has now gotten to its finality at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has now said, go back to status quo November 29, 2023. And that's where we see this should start from. So how does the law see a situation where two people are fighting over a position and they use the instrumentality of the law for a final determination? Now, the lawmakers are now using that argument around it to say, you didn't present anything to us. We said you were the right assembly where you disagreed with us. Now the Supreme Court has decided for you to have disagreed, and the Supreme Court has decided, well, this is what is left for you to handle. I don't know whether you get my drift.
Yes, I do. I do. I really got that clearly. I've had opportunity to expound on this different times. I would say, with respect to the justice of the Supreme Court, the decision of the Supreme Court on that Friday has actually laid this foundation of this, again, another round of clearly avoidable an unreasonable crisis, I would say. And then the people of Rivers State rejecting this kind of crisis really in Rivers State that doesn't exist and not to the good of the people. But having said that, with respect to the justice of the Supreme Court and the decision they have given, the decision of the Supreme Court is final, no doubt, but it's not final because they are infallible and incapable of making mistakes. They may have made the mistakes, they as humans, there may have become there may be some shortcomings, but that's the decision. However, I have always argued, even before the Supreme Court as we speak, and those are the things we're going to be watching unfold in the coming days, there are pending decisions or appeals before the Supreme Court have not been decided that even relate and border on the issue of the legitimacy or otherwise of the membership of these gentlemen, and then, of course, the speakership of Martin Ameule. The principal judgment that the Supreme Court sat over on that judgment, that decision that these gentlemen are holding on, emanated from the judgment of Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik. And we have to go back. If we have to be a sane society, we have to go back to what indeed was the prayer or were the prayers of these gentlemen who approached the Federal High Court presided over by Justice Abdul-Malik. What I have to do with the defection of these 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, the clear answer is no. We have remained on this in Rivers State. We have remained on this conversation with the the judiciary in this country, with all the courts, even the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt today. This is a matter that has been in the Federal High Court for only God knows how long, maybe about a year, 6 months now. But today they are still hearing it. All of this, we are orchestrated to get to this end, but we are not deterred. I must tell to the entire world and everybody watching today that we are not deterred as Rivers people. But to put it in context, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was very clear, and the decisions of the Supreme Court with respect to the clear issue of defection. And the question as to whether this happened on the 11th of December 2023, never at any time had these gentlemen shown otherwise, that the proceedings of 11th of December 2023 were not proceedings in the Rivers House of Assembly. They were indeed proceedings presided over by Martin Ameule. He read out the letters of all 26 other members and then declaring that defection. I leave that for the judiciary of this country, and it's a test on them. The entire world is watching. However, today, the Rivers State House of Assembly purports to have initiated the process of removal. We are watching. It's a proceeding. It doesn't end there. They have just done their own part. That's alleged notice of allegation will be subjected to trial.
Okay, Mr. Akine, so okay, can you hear me, Mr. Akine?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Okay, so because I did read the judgment of, I think, Justice Chioma Nwosu Iheme, where she delved deep into the issue of the defection. And our argument seemed to be that they can't talk about the appropriation law without the dramatist personnel involved, and that's why she brought in all of that. But she also acknowledges the fact that all of this played out even before the defection. I don't want to go into all of that legalist, but my question is, let's talk about the first allegation that of gross misconduct they've talked about, the reckless and unconstitutional expenditure. That after the Supreme Court has given the judgment, the correspondence became an issue. And sometimes you ask yourself, was this really about the budget at the end of the day? So a premise for those who are not following, when the Supreme Court gave the judgment, they gave the governor 48 hours. The governor said, look, I need to see the CTC to be able to understand and act appropriately. Well, some have argued that you acted on the local government, why didn't you act on the budget? That being passed, they said they did also see the letter from the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly provided their own evidence to say the letter was rejected, the courier service were rejected, and then the issue of the governor rights going there, trying to reach them, eventually when they now wrote them again. So there's just been this back and forth, like, I don't know whether everybody's trying to be evasive or counter-smart on the other person. Where does this leave Rivers people? Because now the music has clearly changed a war song using the legal means of removing a governor. Whether this is going to follow through or fall through is a different kettle of fish. Where does this leave the Rivers people, Mr. Ikine?
Please, let me state a constitutional provision before I talk about what it might leave Rivers people. Number one is, have we even averted our attention to the provision of Section 122 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? And that is with respect to the 2025 financial year. Because even the Supreme Court decision that was given just about 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, on a Friday, is in 2025. Now, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria vests power on the governor of a state, not just the governor of Rivers State, to be able to authorize withdrawals, that is, to run government and then run into expenditure from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of a state, even 6 months into a financial year. And again, the drafters of our Constitution were wise in that direction, because knowing that there could be circumstances that there might not be an appropriation law for a financial year, by reason of what is happening, this unreasonable action of the Rivers State House of Assembly and whatever avoidable crisis that exists between and amongst them that's affecting the executive. The drafters of the Constitution now provided that where there is no appropriation law in the commencement of a financial year, as it is in 2025, for whatever reason it is, whether justified or otherwise, the governor can legitimately and constitutionally continue to authorize expenditure until 6 months into that financial year. What about that? That would mean that between January and 25,
Mr. Eugene, Mr. Ikine, my apologies.
Rivers people right now.
Just land on your thought, because I haven't. Mr. Eugene was supposed to joining in, so he can have his 1 or 2 takes before we go. Land on your thought in 30 seconds, Mr. Ikine.
Yeah, what we need Rivers people right now is that clearly 2 things. Rivers indigenes and residents have seen indeed where all of these crises is headed, and what indeed is actually the motive and the objective of all of this, to remove the governor and the deputy governor, purportedly so, but they will fail anyway, so that Martin Amaewhule will become governor and act and carry out the dictates of whoever is directing him. Then what will leave Rivers people again is that Rivers people will resist. And since I am one, we will resist every attempt, legitimately, legally, and to protect our mandate that was given to the governor and the deputy governor.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Eugene Ode. Mr. Eugene, I think we just have barely 2 minutes to wrap up the show. Just came in. So maybe your take on what's going on. But in responding to, just for the legal reason, for purpose of record, I know that the Joyce Abdulmalik's case was relying strongly on Justice James Omotosho's case and the Court of Appeal, which was instituted on November the 30th, that had given a judgment on January 22nd. January 22nd, 2024. Mr. Eugene, welcome to the program. So your take on what this development is really all about?
Well, no one should be surprised. We all knew from the beginning, we knew where all this shenanigans, we knew where it
directed, where it will head. And the recent developments in Rivers State, as it unfolded right from 2023 up till now, we all knew right from the beginning that the whole thing was all about strategizing to find a way to remove the governor of Rivers State, either through legal means.
Oh boy. Okay, I don't know. So, Mr. Eugene, I don't know what's going on with your network. I think we have just a few moments. Mr. Akine, since your network is working, let's begin to wind down. Mr. Eugene, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, maybe you wrap up your thought. I really wanted your take because
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now. You have just a minute. Let's wrap it up, please.
Like I said, the people of Rivers State will resist every attempt to unlawfully, illegally remove their governor. This governor was not voted in by these people, these 27 lawmakers whose position is yet to even be determined by any court in the land. They are relying on the fact that the Supreme Court made some inconclusive remarks as to their status, whether they are still members of the House of Assembly or not. Those issues are yet to be rested. And any action they are taking now is still subject to the conclusion of whatever the court is going to arrive at as to their status. So, but until then, I believe that the people of Rivers State will rise and protect their mandate. That is for sure.
Okay. Gentlemen, I must thank you both. This is an ongoing conversation. The story just broke barely a few moments ago, and so we're just trying to explore the conversation. Henry Akine and Eugene Ode, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you. Thank you, sirs. And just before we go,
thanks for having me.
All right, who is the very best for Rivers State? And let's also tell you that some development in Rivers State, Lagos State, I should say. The Lagos State PDP governorship candidate in the 2023 governorship election, Lajide Adediran, popularly known as Jandor, has defected back to the All Progressives Congress. Mr. Adediran made his known at a press briefing earlier today in Lagos. According to him, the decision to join the APC was because the party is the best alternative to deliver good governance to Lagosians and Nigerians. He says the decision was taken after due consultation with his political supporters and associates across the state. Wow. Well, interesting politician. So in the space of about 2-3 years, so two parties. But you know that's going to be another day for another conversation. But we're watching what's going on in Rivers State as well as everywhere else as far as politics and the polity is concerned. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Ozama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.